Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alex Caberna. That's Mike Wolfgang. He's really the guy that it's always him. It's always Mike Wolfgang on the show. Matt and I seem to be entering a nonstop rotation of who's going to show up to accompany you. So, Mike, maybe we should just make you the front runner, put you on this side, give you control of the show.
Nah, we're all in together. I think.
You don't want to take the reins here?
I mean, I can, but we got it.
Alrighty, well, go ahead and talk about the first thing from last night, and it was Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Golden State took it, and Mike, once again, it was really a bad fourth quarter from the Boston Celtics that lost them the basketball game because they won the third quarter. They won by double digits in the third quarter. They came back from a 16-point lead to go into the halftime. Then Golden State went back up by 8. Boston closed it again. Nearly tied things up to go into the fourth quarter, right as Jordan Poole hit a buzzer beater. I mean, Golden State had 21 points in the fourth quarter until the final 2 seconds when Jordan Poole put down a three. They could not shoot the ball to save their lives from downtown. Golden State, 9 of 40. That's 22.5%. Well, the Celtics, once again, as I said, need to take more threes. They went 11 of 32. They shot at 34.4%. They're out making Golden State by a huge margin. If they take those other 8 threes, they're looking at 13, 14 threes in this ball game. And that's a matter of adding 3 to 4, which is obviously 9 to 12 points, which pushes into a one-possession ball game to finish this thing out. But yet again, Boston just got lazy. That's what it looked like. In the fourth quarter, they got lazy and they got selfish. And once again, it's to their downfall.
And this is one of the weirdest between both teams, one of the weirdest shooting games I've seen. Boston starts off 0 of 12 or something like that?
Yeah, 0 of 12 from downtown.
Then they rip off all these threes in the third while Golden State goes cold. They missed, I think, somewhere around the same distance in a row. Then they just get hot. And like you said, that Jordan Poole three, that bank shot at the buzzer, that was probably what got them going again because, like you said, that third quarter, Boston really, I was really sitting here like, hey, this is going to be a game coming down to it. They might actually take this. And they hit that three at the end, and Golden State didn't look back. And I think what you're saying is the biggest thing with them is the turnovers, because the inconsistent play that I've been talking about showed up again last night. And I thought it was, if you're looking on pace, they should have bounced back last night because they bounced back after losses. That was the first loss after a loss. And it's just these turnovers are careless. They're going back to me. They're going back to their old ways that they played when they were struggling to start the season. It's all Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They're dribbling. They're putting their head down, dribbling into guys, and they're making bad passes down in the paint. That's the big thing. That if you look at the bulk of their turnovers last night, that's what it was coming from, was bad passes, driving lanes where you shouldn't have drove, you shouldn't have made the extra pass. They got away from not sharing the ball that they used to do. That's what got them in the hole to start the year. So that was my biggest thing last night.
And once again, where is the paint defense for Boston? 50 points in the paint for Golden State last night. I know they're trying to guard the perimeter, and they're doing a great job of it. But at the same time, at some point, you have to lock in down low. Your bigs have to play big down there. And that just didn't happen for them last night. And I don't know where their high-level defense is. This was the number one defense in the NBA since January. Highest defense in the playoffs. And here they are, and they're completely choking things away. The one good thing that comes out of this ball game is Steph Curry didn't hit a single three coming off of his 43-point performance, and that put his streak of 233 consecutive games with a made three-pointer coming to an end, which one is huge. But that wasn't to That wasn't all the defense either. That was the fact that he just couldn't get his shot to fall whatsoever. He had plenty of open looks. Steph Curry, even down in the third, fourth quarter, end of the ball game where they needed him to make a big shot, pulls up in transition, stops, and then just decides not to shoot the ball. In Steph Curry's entire career, I've never seen him do that. Stop. He gets it. He's right there, not in the corner, but on the wing, where we know he loves to take those shots, and he froze. First time in his career I've ever seen Steph Curry freeze from the three-point line, and he looked at it. He just didn't want to take it, and Jaylen Brown caught right back to him, and instead Golden State still just set up their offense. I think they got points off of it anyway, but to see Steph Curry hold up in transition, Boston had him rattled last night. They had Steph Curry completely turned around, bamboozled, whatever you want to call it. Steph Curry was not Steph Curry last night, and they still couldn't do a damn thing about it.
That's the thing.
Andrew Wiggins got his. Klay Thompson had 21 points. So Mike, you got the good one on that. I didn't think he was going to hit 21, but he did. And other guys showed up. Draymond got 8 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. That's a good night for Draymond. The fact that he had 8 points, I like to see that out of him. And you know what? A good portion of this game, not a great portion of it, but some key moments in there. I thought Draymond Green finally just shut up and played basketball. And when Draymond Green does that, he's a really talented basketball player. And in last night's game, I think he showed that. But in the entire series, he hasn't. And last night, I think another big thing, as it kind of has all season, Boston, I think, got more favorable calls throughout the majority of the game. Or not more favorable. They just got a lot more calls throughout the game, and that's reflected in free throw numbers that they couldn't hit to save their life, by the way. 67% from the line is ridiculous. They had 31 free throws compared to Golden State's 15, and Golden State still had a mile-high free throw percentage in comparison. But the referees in this game, especially I think in that fourth quarter, right at the start, end of the third, start of the fourth, they made some really big calls that I don't think should have been made. Especially the technical foul called on Marcus Smart. Because there were some straight-up crap calls getting called in this game just about every time down the floor in the second half of this. And that goes on both sides. I really hated the refs in this game. But Marcus Smart getting the technical foul called on him, I think it was ridiculous. Because you look at this game, and it was, they didn't tell us what the tech was for. Broadcaster said it's because Marcus Smart was arguing every call. Well, he had a right to argue most of those calls. But then the very next play, not even after that, the very next play, another foul is called on Draymond Green. And he goes up. He's having a full 5-minute yelling match at the referee, and they don't call a technical foul on him because they don't want to put him in a chance to get ejected. So right there, that was a minute of this basketball game where they call a tech on Marcus Smart. Draymond Green goes down there and does twice as much and doesn't get anything. Right there, you're showing a clear bias with these referees and how they want to call this game, and I just don't like it. We have two great teams, and sorry, I want this to end on the floor, not on a whistle. I want to see these two great teams actually get that shot, and one, I'm tired of the flopping in this series. It has been ridiculous, and I'm tired of the refs giving it to the floppers. Every time they're giving it to the floppers, and I thought we instituted a no flopping rule in the NBA. Where is any of that? Because Jordan Poole had some of the biggest flops last night. So did Marcus Smart that I have ever seen. And I hated it. I turned the ball game off with, I think, 4 or 5 minutes to go because I'm like, I'm tired of watching this crap. This is terrible.
Well, the thing that stuck out to me, and I'm not sticking up for the refs because, yeah, I think you're missing a part, too, that when Marcus Smart got that technical, the very next play is when he swiped Jordan Poole. That was the next
Yes.
Warriors possession, I think, is what you're referring to. Because they teed him up and then they took the ball out. It was still Boston ball. He swiped. Yeah. Remember he swiped and Jordan Poole kind of flipped back. That was one of his bad flops.
A huge flop, yeah. Barely even looked like it touched him either.
So within a span of 20 seconds, Marcus Smart had 2 fouls, and then that Draymond Green thing happened. But I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm not sticking up for the refs at all because there have been really bad ones on both sides. But I'm sitting here thinking, okay, bad calls or not, Boston has no excuse. Because they, again, and this is the way basketball is nowadays. I've said this numerous times in the past, but it seems like it's with Boston more than any other team. Every single foul call, they cry about it. Every single one.
It was bad.
Every one. And the thing is,
games especially, I'd noticed that.
And even as bad as they played last night, it was a 10-point game. Quit, with these refs and stuff like this, I get it. You're frustrated. Things aren't going your way. You start out shooting the game 0 for 12 from 3. I get it. You're frustrated. But again, you let Steph Curry didn't hit a 3 and you still lost. All these other things, there's reasons why they lost that weren't from the refs. And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying that's what came to my mind when I was seeing all these guys go off last night, is that quit making turnovers. Quit shooting air balls. Jason Tatum shot 3 air balls last night.
You know the turnover in this game? 18 turnovers for Boston, 6 for Golden State.
Yeah. And how about instead of crying about the refs?
Because you had a dozen more turnovers than your opponent.
Yeah. Crying about the refs. How about, stepping up, making your shots? How about Jason Tatum? You're a star. How about take over in the fourth quarter? I haven't seen him do that yet in the series.
No.
So that right there is
to that point of Jason Tatum taking over the fourth quarter. I think we do have to remember, just putting this out there, we got to remember, Jason Tatum still is only 24 years old.
I understand that, but he is their guy.
Finals appearance. Any other 24-year-old in their first finals, we aren't putting this pressure on. Jason Tatum is being pushed to be LeBron James. He's not LeBron James yet. He's not at that level. He's not Giannis. He's not Kawhi. All those guys won their first titles up at 28 years old, 28 to 30 years old. Jason Tatum is still 6 years away from that. He's performing as well as a 24-year-old can be expected to perform in the NBA Finals against a dynasty super team of Golden State.
I understand that, but
keep that in perspective here.
No, I understand that, and I'm not saying he's going to take over the game and win the game, but I haven't seen him at least attempt. I'm not going to say he hasn't attempted it, but to me, he could be more aggressive in the fourth quarter. Whether you win or lose, that's one thing. Like you said, he's a young guy. He's going to figure it out. But if you're going to at least attempt to take over the game, and if you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Because he is their guy. He is Boston's guy. And the other thing that comes to my mind is, maybe I'm looking too far into things, but with Marcus Smart, he's had a great year. He's a heck of a basketball player. I'm not taking anything away from him. Some of the other guys they have too can handle the ball, bring it up, can, run the offense. But the thing that matters to me is when things go bad for Golden State, they have a guy like Steph Curry that is a floor general type of guy that says, hey, when things are bad, relax, we got it. I don't think Boston has that guy. They have tough guys. They have Marcus Smart, who is their pit bull, who is their tough-minded guy, but is he a floor general that's going to tell guys, hey, go here, I'm going to set you up here? To me, they don't have that type of guy. They just have a bunch of one-on-one players which are good, and they find ways to move the ball. But last night, they went back to what they went through early in the season when Marcus Smart was calling out guys saying nobody passes the ball. That's what it reminded me of last night.
Yeah, Mike, I agree. This Boston team, as great as they have looked, I think you're right. They're going back to a play style that's not working for them. They've gotten completely thrown out of their groove, and passing's deteriorated. And I think, in this upcoming NBA draft, I don't know where their pick is at the moment or if they even have one, but this offseason, NBA draft, whatever it is, they need to go out and get their point guard. Because I think this team is a point guard away from being able to beat Golden State handedly. They still have a chance here, even without a true point guard on this team. And I think if you can get this squad a point guard, a good one, who's to say that this won't be the next dynasty for Boston as well? Because when you look at these guys they got rolling along, I know Smart's getting older, which is only more of a reason why you need to bring in a guard that you can trust. Not Peyton Pritchard, not Derek White, not guys that sometimes show up. You need to go out there and get your guy. And if you're going to say that's your guy, then you got to commit to him. If Derek White's going to be your guy, well, then he needs to play more than 21 minutes. Granted, he needs more than 1 point in that time, which is why I don't think he's going to be that guy. But they need to go out there and they need to get their point guard. Go find somebody. I don't care. But go find somebody and commit to that guy as your guy, because that's where you found Tatum and that's where you found Brown. You said you're going to be our guys. And they very easily could have thrown Tatum and Brown aside to let Kyrie Irving control the team and build around him. They didn't decide to do that because they could have kept, if we're being honest, they could have kept Kyrie. They could have. They didn't have to, let him go to Brooklyn. If they really wanted to keep Kyrie around, he would still be playing in Boston. And that's a fact. Boston has more money than anybody else, and they're the most prestigious team in the NBA. If they wanted him, they would have him. They didn't want him. They wanted these guys, and they committed to those guys, and they've been committed to these guys, and I give them props for that. 6 years they've been committed, and now they're in NBA Finals go out there and show that same level of commitment to a point guard, even if he comes in 19, 20 years old out of the NBA draft, 4 years behind these guys, you now have a young core that can last you the next decade like it has for the Golden State Warriors that you're taking on right now.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with Kyrie, though, is I don't think he wanted to be there from the beginning. So I think the moment he got there, he's like, I'll be here for 2 years and I'm getting out of here. So I think they really had no choice.
Boston, one, has the money, and I think if they really wanted to, they could have worked with him to go, what do you want here? If you want Kevin here,
I agree, but keep in mind, though, it is Kyrie Irving. He's going to do what he wants. It's a different animal.
Yes.
It's a different animal. But
that is fair.
No, I agree. They do need a point guard. And I give Marcus Smart a bunch of credit after this Dennis Schroeder stuff in the middle of the year didn't work out. He took over and he's played well, but he's not an actual point guard. And when you play a team like...
He's throwing assists in these games. He had 2 assists last night. He's out there for his defensive ability, and his scoring has been phenomenal in this postseason. For Marcus Smart, the way he's scoring the basketball, I love it. Marcus Smart played like this his whole career. He'd be looked at as one of the best shooting guards in the NBA.
And you know what?
But there he is. He's a shooting guard, not a point guard.
Shooting guard, yeah. And we've questioned him a little bit in his shot selection, but he just keeps shooting them and he just keeps letting it fly. I'll give him credit for that.
And he's sinking a lot of them too. His numbers haven't been bad. And that's, I think, the one thing. If he was shooting it bad, I think we go and criticize him more. But he's shooting around 50%. I mean, 7 of 11 in the first game. He went 4 of 7 from downtown. Game 2, he had a bad game. 1 for 6, 0 for 3 from downtown. But then he came right back, a 24-point game 3, back at home, near 50% from 3-point, near 50% from the field. Second game back in Boston, shoots at 33% from downtown. Still fine numbers there. And, he also shoots it okay from the field this game. A little bit of a step back. We're now back here in game 5. 50% from downtown, 50% from the field. I'm loving it for Smart. He's working just fine.
Yeah, and he's, like you said, he's letting it fly, and it seems like a lot of them are going in. But I just think for a Boston team like this, when you're playing a team like Golden State in the finals, and if they end up getting back in the future, and if they play Golden State, whoever they play, it comes down to when you're playing Golden State having a point guard, a floor general, a guy that's, like I said, that's a guy that's going to set you up when you're on the road in Golden State and things are going bad. He's going to tell you, just calm down, go your spots, run the offense. I'll get you, I'll set you up for stuff. And they don't have that.
Look at the 2 teams that have beaten Golden State in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving and Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and those are 2 of the guys I'm talking about. That maybe not so much of that skill set, maybe not so much of that, that type of, Kyrie Irving, the talent he has.
Are 2 wildly different players. I mean, Kyrie is a superstar-like player. Kyle Lowry is just a more typical point guard, and he's good at being a point guard. And you put that in a situation with Kawhi Leonard, who, in Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, he managed the floor.
Yeah.
Point guard's the quarterback. You don't always have to be the guy making the plays. Hand it off to your running back, who in that situation was Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James. Give it off to your running back. Let him take care of some business here, or let it go to your defense. But that quarterback's out there managing the game. Everything that happens is because of that quarterback out there. That's what Steph does for his team. Where he goes, the team follows most of the time. And
it's not that
Boston doesn't have that quarterback.
And it's not that if you do have it, you're going to win. I mean, last year, Chris Paul with the Suns, he had a 2-0 lead, and Milwaukee had their own floor general in Drew Holiday. And it's every team that has that type of guy. And, it's not so much like...
with that kind of guy, you don't always win.
Right. And I think it's with Kyrie that, he may go down as one of the better point guards that we've seen. He is, right, at least talent-wise. And maybe, Kyle Lowry isn't an all-time great point guard, but he's been a pretty dang good point guard throughout his career.
He might end up as a Hall of Famer. Anyway,
he has my vote for it.
At least will be retired in Toronto, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. And, it doesn't have to be an all-time great player. It's just a guy that knows, again, just slow down the offense, calm down, we got it, and I'll take care of things. And to me, that's one thing that's really missing for Boston, because you even see with Steph Curry that, last night he was off, didn't have a 3, but he's still setting guys up and making good passes. And even Draymond Green, that's what he did. 8 points last night after a bad series so far. Goes out, 8 points isn't great, but for him it's productive. And the passes that this team makes, it's a good offense that they run. They've been running it for years, and it just works. Some of the passes Draymond Green was throwing last night.
They don't have to go out there after every game and change up their game plan. They just go, man, it was a bad shooting night. We'll be back. Yeah, no worries.
And that's, some people may think it comes off as cocky. But I like what Draymond Green said last night, that, it's going to bother Steph, and he's going to come out in Game 6 wanting to change everything. And I love that. People might say it's cocky that, Klay Thompson, the confidence he has and all this, it comes off as cocky, I get it, but these guys are confident in themselves. They know what they're doing.
And Andrew Wiggins said as well after that game.
Yeah.
He just came out there and went, you know what? I've been the scorer for a team. I've been the guy doing everything. And we basically what he said is, and we lost that way. And it wasn't fun. Now I'm at a place where I can go out there and do everything, and we can win games. I don't have to do everything, and we win games. But all the time, every game, it's fun, basically, is where he was going with that. It's fun. It's nice. This is a winning mentality. And you know what? Teams in every sport are always trying to build that chemistry, that winning environment. You don't have to win to have a winning environment. We've seen that. Bad teams can still go out there and have a winning environment around them where they're picking each other up constantly. No matter what, they're building towards the future and keeping that mindset there. That's how you turn a team around. Golden State, they've had this winning mentality, and they win to go along with it, which just makes that even easier to build that up. And putting Wiggins in that situation clearly has blossomed for him, because his years up in Minnesota, he looked like an okay player. Looked like, you know what, this is an above average small forward. But his transition down here to Golden State has been really the resurgence I think he needed. Some fresh air into his lungs to, reinvigorate him.
Well, I think the big thing is when you're a guy like him that's getting drafted and you go number 1 and everybody's saying this about you, comparing you to guys, it's just, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to a team and be the guy, because look at him.
You get traded instantly too, which also kind of is a little bit of a stinger instantaneously.
And that messes with them.
I go, and then we don't actually want you. We just picked you for a trade. It's like,
but the thing is like, people get so stuck on, and I get it, you're number 1 pick. There's expectations that come with that, but people get so stuck on you have to go there and be the absolute guy. Some guys get drafted and they aren't that. They have to go to a team and figure out that I can't do this. I can go to a team and still be the guy, and if I need to be. But some guys flourish in these different opportunities. And I love him coming to his team. I thought it was a great trade when they first got him, because it was a perfect spot for him, I think. There really couldn't have been a better one, because the offense they run suits him. I think it showed last night in other games, and it allows him that he has a skill set. If Steph Curry's having an off night, he can go off. And I loved it when it first happened for him. I'm happy that he's having the success, because he deserves it. Andrew Wiggins is one of the better good all-around players. Seems like he's a good person. He's having a good time, and I like seeing this on the stage for him, because if it's not for Steph Curry, he is the Finals MVP. I think we all know that. He's been consistently in this series the second best player for Golden State.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can argue with that at all. I mean, everything.
Maybe the second best player in the series overall.
Yeah, but I'm just going and doing a bit of research here while you were talking on a couple of things. First thing I want to mention, when we talked about Jason Tatum and his abilities, and we do have to take a look back. I did pull up youngest Finals MVP in NBA history just to compare a few notes here, and there are some standouts, some excellent, wow, yeah, you could tell that guy was going to be something. Magic Johnson is the youngest guy with the Lakers, 20 years old, got 21.5 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. Shot it phenomenally that series, except they didn't shoot threes back then. So he had a 0% 3-point percentage, because I think he took 1 in the entire series. So they won the 79-80 finals with that. Kawhi Leonard at 22 years old had 17.8 points per game with the Spurs. He got that because of his defense in there. Tim Duncan, that's the exception. 22 years old, 28 points or 27 points per game and 14 rebounds. You knew that kid was going to be a stud. Magic Johnson also then did it at 22 years old, getting only 16 points a game, 10.8 rebounds, and 8 assists. But you look at the 24-year-olds that have won Finals MVP. There have been 4 of them. Only one of them has given a significantly memorable performance, and that was Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade went out there, 24 years old in the 05-06 Finals for the Heat, put up 34.7 points per game, and that was phenomenal. That was the start. Everybody knew who Dwayne Wade was after that. The other guys, Tony Parker, 24.5 points per game. Dennis Johnson, 22.6 with the Seattle Supersonics back in 78-79. And Bill Walton, 76-77, had 18.5 points per game and 19 rebounds. His defense was the reason he got it. We don't see a lot of guys at that age able to carry a team on their back. So I do think you look at Jason Tatum right now in this series, 23.2 points per game, assist-wise, 7 assists, 7.6 rebounds. You look at his numbers statistically, compare them to those other 24-year-olds, and he's standing up to that. He's right there in that same margin. So I do think, Jason Tatum, as I said earlier, is performing the same way, I think, the same way he should. And in a comparison, maybe a little bit more recently, and the guy maybe fits the system or fits the look a little bit better. LeBron James in the 2007 finals when they lost to the Spurs, got swept by the Spurs. LeBron averaged 22 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 6.8 assists, 1 year younger than Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's putting up nearly that exact same stat line. And he's got wins against this great super team. So just a couple comparative numbers to put what Jason Tatum's done into perspective and to show he's on that same trajectory, but I don't think he's there just yet.
I agree.
Where I'm going with this.
I don't think he's there just yet.
He's got all the makings of a superstar, but I think we do just have to take a step back. This kid's 24 years old, and there's not a lot around him offensively. So just keep things in perspective. LeBron did carry that team to that finals, though, in 2007. So obviously a bit of a difference in that aspect. So,
and the thing is, with Tatum, I'm not trying to, because they're down 3-2. I've just been feeling this way for a little bit. That's why I've just been saying at some point that it's gonna not cost Boston, but they're gonna run into somebody that can't get past it, because I know they took out Milwaukee, but they didn't have Chris Middleton, and I'm just sitting here because I didn't pick them to win that series. I didn't pick them to win the Miami series. I didn't pick them to win going into this series now. And I think a big part of it is because as much as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are good, the turnover problem has plagued them a lot in these playoffs. And I know they found ways to get through it, and they haven't had consistent scoring. I know we've had Al Horford go off for games. Grant Williams went off in Game 7. But who do you really depend on that's going to be a role player? Because I know right now, Wiggins, I don't know if you call him a role player. He's not, but he's not like the guy on the team. They have a guy that can go off and produce when Steph Curry, their absolute number one guy, is not performing. Who's going to take over a game for Boston when Jason Tatum's not performing? I know Marcus Smart hit a bunch of threes and keep you close, but who's going to get you over the top? I don't know if they have that. And Jason Tatum can't be that, like you're saying. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not blaming him for them losing the series right now. But with him right now, it seems like he's coming out in the early in the game. He's playing okay. That's where he's getting most of his points. It seems like the second half, closer in the game, is where he struggles.
Jaylen Brown does seem to be that second guy when it comes to scoring, but I agree. He also can't take over a game. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I feel like they're just too close with each other to perform when one guy's kind of off.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with that? And
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
And you're right. I think that comes with, as we were talking about a little bit ago, finding that point guard to run this system.
Yeah.
Finding somebody that can go over to those young guys, even a young guy himself, or if they find a veteran out there who's probably closing in on the end of his times. Go out there and find somebody that can lead these guys, show them guys what to do. I mean, that's what they kind of have in Al Horford, but I don't know if he's taken that role 100% in there. So I think going into this offseason, there's some questions they need to address, but obviously the time for talking about the offseason's in the offseason, and they got to figure out something here. So, Mike, I know you don't think they're going to win the series. You don't think they have the right pieces to win it, but from your perspective, what does Boston need to change up? What can they realistically do here in Game 6 to take it back in Boston? That's a big thing. They're back in Boston here, too.
Well, it's tough.
What do they realistically need in this game? Because we can't talk about them bringing somebody else in. There is nobody to bring in now. What do they need to do right now?
It's tough because I know we're sitting here not killing them, but we're beating the dead horse to them. This series isn't over. They still have a chance to win it and force the game.
Right, 3-2 is not that's about to be, and you win one game, and now you're down to a one-game series.
But it's the thing,
and you get to win one game at home.
And I know it's a tough task. Great. I know it's a tough task for them to to win Thursday night and then go try to win again in Golden State. But I mean, teams have done it in the past. Cavs have won multiple games during the series. Toronto won multiple games during the series. So teams can do it. But as far as game planning and what they could do, I really don't know, because Steph Curry was bad last night, and they still won by 10 points. And it's not, they defended him. It didn't really seem like they changed much. So, and he just wasn't making anything. So maybe the thing is, again, we talked about yesterday, just be physical with him and stay attached to him. We saw Matthew Dellavedova do this in the finals and limit him for 2 games. There is ways to limit him and to keep him from going on runs, but they just haven't shown any ability to go to that stuff. And I think the other thing is that I brought up earlier is that they need to go back to playing team basketball. Because last night I don't think they did that for maybe in the third quarter, but for the majority of the game they didn't do that last night. And I think that's the when this team is playing at its best, that's what they're doing, is playing team basketball. Because I know Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can play one-on-one, but there's times when they're driving one-on-one and they're playing hero ball, and that's where most of their turnovers come from. So I think playing at home, you're gonna be all juiced up. You're gonna have your guys, role players, play better at home. We all say that. So I think that's what they could depend on. But I don't really know as game planning what they could do. I want to see what.
Well, I guess that's why we're not NBA head coaches, right?
Yeah.
But my big thing here, Mike, and it's kind of something you've been saying that you don't like about Boston. I don't know if it's going to go away, but you kind of saw in the fourth quarter, Ime Udoka pulled the team together after that third quarter and went, "Stop complaining about fouls."
Yeah, and I love that he did that.
We're not talking about fouls.
Yeah.
In that fourth quarter, there were some, but not a lot. Most of the complaining was on the other side. The big change-up I want to see is the exact same thing. Ime Udoka needs to go out there to start out the game and just go, "I don't give a damn about your fouls. I don't care if they're right or wrong. Just go play basketball. You're here to play basketball. You're not politicians. You're not going out here giving big speeches to try and get the referees on your side. That's not how this works. You're going out there to play basketball and win a championship. Everything else, throw it away."
Let me stop you there for a minute. And I think you're right. And I think that's what Udoka needs to do again. Is because every sport I played in high school and growing up as a kid, every coach I had told me, don't say a word to the refs. If there's a bad call, I got it. Yeah. So if there's a bad call, let Ime Udoka handle it. He's your coach. He's going to keep you guys out of getting in trouble, getting extra technical, sending the guys to the line. So if there's a bad call, as much as you disagree with it, if it's a bad call, your coach is going to see it too. So let your coach, because your coach, as much as you don't want to
if it's that egregious of a bad call, the coach is going to notice it.
Yeah, and you don't want to get your coach out of the game for getting teed up or thrown out, but I'd rather have my coach throw it out than one of my star players. Because he's the guy who's actually out there doing it. So I agree with you on that part, but I don't know if you had anything else.
I did, but now it's brain parting a little bit.
Sorry.
But so the one thing, I want to see them just calm it down. I know that's their mentality. That's how they kind of get under the skin of their opponent sometime. But enough. Enough is enough. It's not working. Time to make a change up. And we're not making a huge change up in the game plan, so you got to do it in the mental aspect. Yeah. If you're going to beat Golden State mentally, let them be the ones that get frustrated on the calls. You've seen Draymond Green. He's hopping around, slamming the floor, doing this and that, pools flopping here. Let them do that. Let them look like the rodeo clowns out there. Don't make yourself look like the fool. Let them play the jester. Let them break themselves out mentally in this game. You go in, you focus on hitting the shot. I don't want flops. If you're driving to the rim, slam it on their head. Do not go in there for a layup looking to draw contact. Slam it on their head. That's how you win basketball. That's how it's always been. You put the ball in the hoop. If you want to win an NBA final, that's the way to do it. You're going up against a great team, but a team that sometimes talks too much. Let them talk. Don't stoop down to their level. Let them talk. Let it go. That's the one big change I want to see. It sounds bad, but in this situation, the time for talk is over.
Yep.
Everything else, throw it out the window. The only thing that matters at this point in the NBA Finals is basketball. And I hate to sound like just, go shut up and dribble, but that's really what you need to do. Shut up and shoot. Put that ball in the hoop.
Heck, at this time, it's shut up and win.
Shut up and win, yeah, definitely. Yeah. But at this point also, if you're going to look at that side of things, not that we're, looking at too much right now because there's a lot of things going on. These guys are very high advocates. If you want to make your name carry a little bit more weight, put NBA Finals champion in front of it. That'll carry some more weight for you to actually make some change. That's what the best of all time have done. They put a title in front of their name, then they went out and talked.
Yeah.
Go do that. Another big thing, I said it in the last couple of games, shoot more threes. Boston has been killing Golden State in the three-point department. Shoot more threes. Right now, you look at this series, three-point percentage, Boston has shot at 41%. Golden State, 35.5. Shoot more threes because you can't drive the ball. We've seen that plenty. They can't drive the ball for crap. They can't go up against Wiggins and Draymond Green. They've locked things down there. So stop going at it. You've been shooting the lights out from downtown. Keep doing that because you can't hit a free throw, so I'm not trusting you to drive into the lane and make contact. We saw that last game. He did nothing because of it. It was close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, which I don't understand about the hand grenades. I don't think I'd want to be close to one. But you look at this series, Boston has out-rebounded. They've out-assisted. They've out-blocked. They've outshot the ball from three. And they still can't figure out how to beat this team.
Yeah.
They've won it twice, but it doesn't feel like it, does it? You look at the series and you're like, this is Golden State series. When it's a 3-2 series, I don't think we should look at it. But I think people look at game one and went, Golden State had a bad night. And then, game three, Boston had a good game at home. The series has felt like Golden State's. This is Golden State series right now. So I want to see them shoot the ball more. Shoot it from outside. It's been working. And you know what? I know people hate the, live or die by the three. But what else do you got? Because you can't drive. So it's time to live or die by the three, and hopefully you'll live to see another day. Because you know what? You've been out shooting the best three-point shooting team in the history of the NBA. So keep letting it fly. You're shooting at 41%, and you look, their field goal percentage is only 43.7%. They're better off taking threes. You look at that number right there. 2.7% separates field goal percentage to three-point percentage. Shoot the three. Because it's better than what you're getting driving inside. Because if you're going 1 for 3 driving to the hoop and getting 2 points every 3 possessions, I'd rather you get 3 points every 3 possessions. Because you know what? That's plus one. Plus one in that department. Because you haven't shown me any consistency on driving the ball. Take the shot.
And I think to what you're saying is the driving the ball part versus shooting threes, they don't really mix it pretty well. Because to me, there's been games that they come out and they fire up a bunch of threes, especially at home. They make a bunch of them, get the crowd into it. And as soon as they get that type of role, it seems to me that they go away from it. That, they go on these drivings, and when there's really nothing there, like I said, it's when they force it and get themselves in trouble and forcing turnovers. And I think a big thing if they want to win Game 6 on Thursday is you're going to make turnovers, you're going to make mistakes. We all understand that. But most of their turnovers come off in transition, and we know how deadly Golden State is in transition. There was pretty much 0 times last night where they didn't score in transition off a turnover because they know what they're doing. They run a good offense coming up the floor. All their guys run down the lane in the right spots, cut towards the basket. That's the strength of Golden State's game, and you're getting yourself in trouble by doing that. So that right there, it's a big adjustment you can make. And I know it's easy to say, don't go out there and turn it over. That's easy to say, but that's a big thing: is take care of the basketball. And I think what you're saying with the threes in the driving lanes is find a good mix there, because it seems to me their offense is like this a bunch. With Boston. And I think, maybe coming home, they'll shoot some threes. They'll have better performance shooting threes. We often say that. And maybe they'll be more aggressive doing that. But I agree with you. An elimination game in the NBA Finals is Game 6 at home. You have this one at home and try to force Game 7. You got to throw everything out. Everything.
And, there's also something that I'm looking at stats right now, noticing in this series. If you're going to force Golden State to take one shot, put them in the corner. Because a certain corner as well, not just any of them. You put them to the corner, off to the right side of the basket. In this series, Golden State has shot 3 for 20 from the right side corner. They hit 7 for 14 on the other side. They are 63 for 169 from the normal wing-to-wing three-point arc, and their mid-range has been outstanding, 32 of 62. That's 10% over the league average. Boston, on the other hand, their mid-range, 17 for 57. They have not been able to hit a mid-range shot. That is less than 10% below the league average. In the paint, normal. Three-point arc, they're plus 10 above the NBA average. So as we're saying here, shoot the three.
Yeah.
And Mike, maybe one final thought here about Boston playing at home. Historically, man, a 70% win percentage. The odds are in their favor historically. And you know what?
I think
sometimes all you need is just that one stat. Just that one stat to give you something.
Yeah. And I think though with them is if we're picking, I'm not going to give my pick away yet, but if I'm looking at this from an analyst perspective, which we're trying to do here, It does kind of favor Boston because, again, you're at home, you're desperate, it's an elimination game. If you lose, your season's done. And it seems to me that, like I said, this is Miami series. That's why I picked Miami to win Game 6 there because Boston was with the lead in the series 3-2. And I just feel like when it's a closeout game, they don't always capitalize on it at home. But I think coming into this one where their backs are against the wall, they're not in that position to close it out, they've actually played better. So maybe that's something to look at too. And I think
it's quite a few Game 6s as well. So
yeah, and I think
I like their spot.
I do. I think it's tough when you're coming back home in elimination games. Your back's against the wall, but like you said, the advantage is you're at home, you're in your own building, and you have that stat like you just said. Sometimes like you need just one stat. I think we've seen this other series too. We've seen it with our teams, other teams. If you need one stat just to get back into mindset. Like, okay, we could do this. Take it one game at a time. Maybe that's what they could do at home.
And Mike, there's something you say a lot here on the show. Play like you got nothing to lose.
You have to. In this situation, you have nothing to lose.
On the other side of this, Mike, I don't want them to play like they got nothing to lose because they got everything to lose right now. They got the NBA Finals.
Well, I know.
They got one game. They got everything. I want them to play like they've got everything to lose. If they lose this, they're done.
Yeah.
They lose their contracts. They're done. They're never getting back here. Play like this is everything because it is.
Well, yeah, it is everything. But from that part, I'm just saying there's no like, oh, we're going to save this for another game. This is it. In terms of game planning, in terms of being aggressive on offense, making extra rotation on defense. If you don't do that in this game, you're done. So you have to do all that. You have to come into this game locked in, because if you don't, you're done. And it goes from everybody from coaching to the players, like I said, because if Ime Udoka's saving any type of strategy for defense against Steph Curry, I don't know why he's been saving it to this point, but I'm just saying if he has been, this is the game to throw it out, because you have to throw everything out.
Yeah, so this is I mean, I don't know what else we got to say. We're going to figure it out tomorrow, but this is it. So I do also want to point this out. Just found this stat. The Celtics in Game 7s on the road, they've lost 4 and won 3 in their entire history. So odds for Game 7 aren't in their favor. So they do really need to get this one. I believe the last
time they were in the finals, that one against the Lakers in 2010.
They've won the last 3 they've been in Game 7s.
In the finals, or?
I believe that's what that was, yeah. I don't remember exactly what was the stat here.
Hold on. Yeah, that might be just playoffs, because the last time they were in the finals, 2010, to the Lakers, they lost.
Oh, yeah, pardon me. They've lost. I was looking at it upside down. They've lost the last 4.
That was on the road.
Last 4 Game 7s they've been. They haven't won a Game 7 on the road since 1974 in the finals against Milwaukee.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
It got changed sometime.
Exactly. It's been a decade since they even played in a road Game 7. So put that out there. It's been a long time.
Yep.
But we'll be making our picks tomorrow, so make sure we'll be making our picks Thursday. We got a while to go. We got to figure out something to talk about tomorrow. Hopefully the NHL gives us some fun stuff to talk about.
I'm excited for that, too.
So, yeah.
Tomorrow night.
We'll get into NHL tomorrow as they get it. But, Mike, let's finish out last 17 minutes. Major League Baseball. I think maybe the biggest thing last night, Ozzie Albies. He is done for at least the foreseeable future as he fractured his foot. I think we're still waiting on official diagnosis of what that might actually be. I know there were some rumors he may have torn an Achilles along with it. So there's a lot to go into what comes out of it. I'm interested to see where it comes out, but this is a huge hit to the Braves. They did win last night, but Ozzie Albies has been a huge piece for this team in not only winning the playoffs last year, winning the World Series, but having this 12-game win streak as well.
And I think it's tough for the Braves.
And they brought out Phil Gosselin, by the way, from the minor leagues to take over that spot.
Yeah. And I think it's tough for them because it's back-to-back years they've lost one of their best players. Last year with Ronald Acuna, but they found a way to overcome it. So I think they're in a spot now where they were starting to get on a roll here. They won, I think it was, 7 in a row or whatever. So they were getting on a roll, but now you get somebody down. I think it's in the same kind of spot last year. They were playing okay last year when Acuna went down, but they found a way to overcome it. So I think they're going to have to do that again, obviously, because he's one of the best players. We don't know. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Is that what you said?
No,
I don't really see anything here.
I'm double checking in now.
I don't see anything what I have pulled up, but you'd imagine he'd be out for a decent amount of time with a fractured foot, but they got to find a way to overcome it. I think because they finally found a way to play that they don't have Freddie Freeman anymore. We all know this. And I think they finally understood that they're like, hey, we're defending champs. We have different personnel. We got to play a different style. They've done that, so I think there's a way they can continue playing well without him. But he's one of the best players. It's not going to be easy at all. And hopefully he gets back pretty soon.
Okay, so they have not announced how long he's going to be down, but they don't have a ton of depth at this position. Their infield is slim pickings, and it's kind of one of those spots you see that injury and you go, now what? What can you continue to push out there? Do you have the depth to do it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's questionable. And I think the thing with this injury it was just something normal. You're just getting out of the batter's box and something just went wrong. That's the discouraging part of it. It's not like it was a contact thing where something happened. It was just a routine thing, hitting the ball and getting out of the batter's box, and just something went wrong. But yeah, I don't think they have the depth.
I broke my foot about 8 years ago doing the exact same thing. It's just one of those freak injuries, and you just go down and you go, well, something's wrong.
And you know what?
And you kind of just limp off and you go, well, my foot doesn't look right.
Sometimes you don't realize how easy it is to hurt something because, I've had a few injuries in sports when I played in school, and once you get something, you look at it like, hey, some of these guys, I don't know how these injuries don't happen more because it seems like torn ACLs are so hard to do. It seems like fractured foots like this, again.
Yeah, but they hurt like hell.
No, they hurt like hell, but like knee injuries it seems like you really think about it and look at it, it's like, how did this not happen more? Because it seems like they're easy to happen.
I tore my ACL on a non-contact play, so.
Yeah. So sometimes stuff just happens, and I think with other sports like in basketball, they keep asking all these injuries going on. Well, I mean, a lot of that's just part of the game. I don't really think it's part of playing a bunch of games, but sometimes injuries just happen, and I think that's part of this one that he really didn't do anything unusual. But I agree with you, the depth of that position, they really don't have too much. So if he's going to be out for a decent amount of time, they'll have to figure something out. But we'll just have to keep an eye on it and see how long he's going to be out.
Yep. Other big headline coming back into baseball, Mike. This one's going to hurt you guys. The St. Louis Cardinals bringing back Jack Flaherty to play on Wednesday's game. Flaherty has been up for the Cy Young Award before, as well as the MVP and Rookie of the Year. So far in the career, 3.34 ERA, and counts a win-loss record at the moment of 32-24, and has 567 strikeouts. Mike, this pretty big comeback there to put that back into St. Louis. One of their big pitchers going to make that start yet again against the Pittsburgh Pirates on Wednesday.
And I think, with them getting a guy like him back, who has been top of the rotation guy for them in the past, puts them in a position to really win this division. Because right now they're ahead of the Brewers by one game. Puts them in a really good position to lock it out. And I didn't think that would happen. I thought they would be between those two teams going into this year, but I thought Milwaukee was going to edge them out. They still can. It's still early, but
obviously, yeah.
That's a big boost, though. Jack Flaherty's been a good guy for a couple years now.
Yeah, and you're definitely on that aspect. And it was a bullpen, I think, in St. Louis that was missing one more piece, and putting him back in there looks to be a pretty good piece to put back in. He's had 2 starts down in, I believe, AAA Memphis. Last time out, pitched 4 innings, allowed just 1 run, had 6 strikeouts on just 59 pitches. 38 of the 59 as well were all strikes. So he's definitely bringing back plenty of heat to this lineup, or to this bullpen. Excited to see what can happen from it, because St. Louis, 248 runs allowed, not great, not bad. I think it's right about middle of the pack for baseball this season in terms of team stats.
Yeah. And I've said it for the last couple of years. I like the mix that St. Louis continues to do with having their old veterans like Wainwright and Molina, and now bringing Pujols back, and they're mixing in a bunch of young guys. I know, Arenado and Goldschmidt too, but they're mixing in the young guys, and especially in the starting pitching. It's easy to have, not easy, but it's good to have a guy like Adam Wainwright in that rotation. You're young guys thinking, hey, I'm behind one of the best. I'm going to go pitch like it too. So I think they've had that with Jack Flaherty and some other guys too. Miles Michaelis going in the second game tonight. They have a doubleheader. So that's a good way for St. Louis. I think they've been rolling with it, and it's a matter of time before it breaks through for them the last couple of years, because they've gotten deep in the playoffs but just haven't gone through with it. So we'll see with that.
And here's the metric, by the way. St. Louis, out of 30 teams, ranked 16th in the ERA. So they're right there, middle of the pack. so far this season.
That's going to be a good boost.
Yeah, and I think it should add some excitement back to that division because I feel like they were starting to slip off. We talked how bad that NL Central is right now.
It still is, but
yeah, I think it can at least, if he comes back and he's playing it that way he was back in 2019 before COVID and all the injuries, if he can come back to that form and make that comeback of the year type player, I think it could make St. Louis a dangerous team to go into the postseason. I think if you get that rotation cemented and they start rolling along because you bring in a guy I say is a veteran. He's only been in the league since 2018, but it does feel like it because of the awards he's already put his name up there with. Finished fourth in Cy Young voting. Heck, he finished fifth in MVP voting in that 2019 season. If he can get back to that, this team is going to be well off in the NL Central. And as you were just saying, probably give them the best chance to win it. I still like Milwaukee, and
me too.
They were your dark horse, they were your dark horse to take it all this year, and they've looked good so far. But I think they're still a bullpen piece away from that as well because they've hit the ball just fine, but it seems they kind of struggle for pitching. So
yeah, and I think though with they have great depth. That's why a reason why I think they can go far because they brought up some young guys this year, some more to add to what I was just saying with Nolan Gorman, who's hit pretty well coming up the last month or so as a rookie, and some other guys they have too, and it's a good mix for them too, and I think it's going to be a fun battle. NL Central stinks. We said this how many times, but if you have a battle with
I mean they have two teams right now that are on 7-game losing streaks.
Yeah, and
I won't name names.
I'll flat out say it. I'm used to my team sucking, so I'll flat out say it.
Pittsburgh and Chicago, both on 7-game skids.
Every team I like stinks, so
we were talking too much about Pittsburgh. That's what you were saying, right?
I mean, we could talk about them. I'll bash them too. When you play the way they do, I'll bash them. I'll bash any of my team when they stink.
No, you were saying we were talking too much good about Pittsburgh, and now they're falling off.
Oh yeah. I guess I'll blame you guys for the one.
Yeah, you can blame the podcast for the Pirates' recent struggles.
I'm kidding. No, they were due for it, but
which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, you do have ups and downs in a season. You hope that the downs aren't 7 games in a row, but you live with the results.
Here's the thing. Finishing up what I was saying about the Central, if you have as bad as it is in the middle to lower part, if you have a battle between St. Louis and Milwaukee going down, 2 good teams, that's gonna be fun to watch. But back to Pittsburgh, I got to mention this because I've said if they bring up all these young guys, which they brought up a good amount of them, hopefully I'm hearing rumors that maybe by the end of the week they might bring up O'Neal Cruz, which is long overdue. But you bring up these young guys and you lose them, that's fine. But I feel like they're not getting the most out of them right now because their managing staff stinks. All around, manager, pitching coach, hitting coach, they all stink. So to me, they're not putting half these guys. If you're going to bring them up, fine, but put them in the best position to actually grow and perform. They're not doing that right now. I had to squeeze that in there because that's really last night. They have a 5-0 lead in St. Louis. They never win there and lose it.
Yeah, that one had to hurt. 5-0 leads, you blow that. It's just and
it wasn't really that the team on the field gave it away. It goes back to managing last night. Derek Shelton left a guy in that was way too long. Coaches do this all the time, leave a guy in way after they should be and take it out. So that's what really hurt. And I put it on halftime of the game last night. Or actually, I checked it middle of the second quarter. Pirates are up 5-0. I change it back. I go back to it at halftime. I put the score on. It's 5-0. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Why am I even a fan of this team?
Yeah, love that. But, Mike, I do got to point out here, not to overreact too much, but Texas Rangers now 3 games in a row. They've taken it here in the AL West. They took the series against the White Sox last time out. Just pointing this out, they're putting some games together. They were looking there for a minute as well. Start out this month, things weren't going their way. They lost back-to-back to the Rays, lost a series to the Mariners, lost a series to the Guardians. Now they took the White Sox series. They started out last night taking a game 5-3 over the team ahead of them. And that's the thing I think is biggest about this.
Yeah.
They beat the team ahead of them. So they get to kind of dig into that game back a little bit and potentially move themselves into position to take the AL West spot. Obviously, still a ways out, 7.5 games back. But, I mean, if you can take 3 games out of this series, they already took 1, you dig that in a little bit more, you're looking at a game back. You're only 5.5 games back. And getting that momentum off of a series like that is huge to see. So I like what the Rangers are doing. There was actually a great play on the Astros side last night of a foul ball that got tipped up right behind home plate. And I don't remember who was catching for them last night. Just immediately flips the mask off and just dives out to catch it. And it was wonderful. great play by that Astros catcher. I don't remember what his name was. I didn't see the game, obviously, but just the highlight. It was great to see, but I like what Texas is doing. And, Mike, much like the Pirates, they didn't wait around. They brought up their young guys, too. And it's working out, much like it is for the Pirates. I mean, you look at their records and before the 7-game lose streak, and they were pretty similar.
Yeah, but to add to your argument here, because I know you picked the Rangers at the beginning of the year. They're a team I considered as well. They're a team I like that I want to turn this around. But, they win this game last night against Houston. That's good. If you could take one more out of that series, maybe win it 2-3, sign me up for that, because look at their schedule. Tigers have been struggling. They got 4 games with them. I know the Phillies have caught fire since losing Joe Girardi, but they got 2 with them at home. And then they got 3 against the Nationals at home. Then they go to Kansas City. The next team they have after that's the Mets, which is tough, and then you got Baltimore after that. So they have a pretty favorable schedule coming up.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, even after Baltimore, I mean, they're only going to take on the Twins, so I know are in first place, the AL Central, but I don't think they're the Twins from a couple years ago that dominated the AL Central. After that, they got Oakland, Seattle again, Miami, Oakland again, Seattle again after that. They don't play really outside of the Mets and Twins a good team until they take on the Angels in July, and even then, that Angels team has been falling apart. Yeah. And that's the end of July. You really look at this schedule, they don't even take the Astros on again until August 9th. This is a team that realistically can dominate the next 2 months of baseball because they will have one of the easiest schedules.
Yeah, because you look at a good part of their schedule so far. They played I know if you want to be a good team, you got to beat good teams. But they went through a pretty hard stretch playing the Astros, playing the Yankees, and then the Red Sox. I know that, they lost 2 out of 3 of that. So they went through a tough stretch. Every team goes through a tough stretch. They played the Braves before that. But now they're getting to a place where they're playing good against the Astros. They played good against some other teams in the last week or so. And now they have part of their schedule coming up that's pretty favorable. I mean, you still got to go out and win them, but it's pretty favorable.
And here's a stat I like for them right now. They're 15th in pitching. This is a team I don't think anybody looks at and goes, oh, this is a fantastic pitching team. But they've been rocking it right now. 15th in pitching, and that's a great spot to be in. And batting average-wise, the Rangers here, let me take a look, are a little bit farther down. This is where they need to improve. They're 22nd in hitting, which is definitely a number they need to see go up. Right now, hitting it at 236 rate. Number one team was a 265, so not a ton to separate, but I think enough of a difference right now to turn things around. But we've seen already this season, you don't necessarily have to have great hitting to win ball games. San Diego is a 235 team right now. Tampa Bay is hitting at 233. The Brewers at 231. And they're still out there winning games. Even the Giants are only a 240 team. So we're seeing pitching carry this year, and it's going to be the big thing to watch out for. And all you need is that hitting to get a little bit better. Just that much. And you can really turn things around for your team. And, on base percentage for them, also terrible. They're just down at 27th in baseball, but all you got to do is pitch.
Yep.
Baseball's always been about pitching.
Always
if you have dominant pitching, you win games. Or I won't say always, but probably the last 50 years. It's been pitching.
Most teams you look at, yeah. It's the name of the game.
If any team that wins the title, they got pitching. They probably have good hitters, but they can pitch.
I've said it since, not saying everybody has said this.
Cubs don't win that World Series if they don't have a Aroldis Chapman to come close things out every day.
Pitching is the name of the game. I know people love offense, but it will always be the name of the game. You have to have pitching to win. Just like they say in other sports, defense wins championships. That's how it is in baseball. Pitching wins you.
Exactly. I've seen some great teams have bad days because they had bad pitching.
Yep.
At every level. And I've seen really bad teams have great days because of great pitching.
Yep.
But that is going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. I've been Alec Werna. That's Mike Wolfgang. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Power Hour coming up next on your Sports Network.